a new job for the day, and it's the one that I've been looking forward to and not looking forward to. There's several ways you can put it. So today is the 11th of December and that time has come to get this pit open because we have bales here in front of us. I'm just after filling silage in for all the cattle, so we've enough silage in now for the next day or more, probably about 48 hours in front of the cows. It gives me a bit of time to open this pit and strip off the covers and stuff and get it done. So your predictions before I open it, what do you think? But I'm going to put my verdict on it. I do every year, and I think it's going to be alright because I don't see any soft spots along the wall here. See, there's no sinkages. We always get a little bit of waste along the walls, but I don't think we're going to have it this year. Now, another thing is this is the final phase of what we've been doing over the past few years now. So the way we always used to cover our pit, the way my dad always covered it, and we just carried on to the addition, was we put 3 to 4 covers on our of normal black cover on our pit, and then we just layered it with tires. And that's what we always covered. We never put any covers over the walls or any of that kind of crack. That was just straight onto the pit after it was well rolled, and that was it, job done. We always had little bits of waste along the front here. Never anything worth talking about, never everything that maybe made us anyway concerned about changing it. But it's always good to have a little change. And I decided to use the clean seal, or the clear seal, cling seal, that's probably what I should call it. Which is basically like wrapping your sandwiches in clear plastic. You know, when you're going to school or you're going to work, that's exactly the same thing it does, and it just gives a air sealed barrier. So it keeps the stuff fresh for longer. So that's what we put underneath our cover, and then we put 2 black covers. We also put 2 covers above the walls, folded them across, which it nearly meant that we had 3 covers on it. And this green net. This is not a cover, by the way, it's just a net. All it is protect the cover underneath, and there's little loops and stuff on it for tying our bags to. And by the way, our bags came with that, so no tires anymore. Our tires are still stacked up there, and I will get rid of them. So we tried that the first year, and we ended up with a lovely pit of stuff. The year after, I didn't do it as well. I made a little mistake of where I put the clean seal, or the clear cling seal, as you call it. But we did put the black covers, folded them over first, then put the seal on top, which isn't the right way of doing it. Pit had a little bit of waste in it, a little bit of mould across the front. Again, it wasn't anything too bad, but it had a little bit more waste compared to the year before. Then the next year, we done away with the covers along the walls altogether. So that was last year's pit, and we did have a nice wee bit of waste now along the front. It's more so than we would have ever had before. This year, we put the covers back over the walls, and we put the cling seal on correctly. We put 2 new covers on it, the net, the bags, done. So this is just a trial for YouTube. And to be honest with you, over the whole period of time we were doing this, it didn't make an awful lot of difference one way or the other. The bit of waste we had, as I said, was never massive and didn't really bother me that much, but just for the crack of it and the fact that we make these videos, so why not give different things a go. So now let's uncover this and see, does it really make a massive difference? So I'm just going to get these posts off. I'm going to get this gate off here, get it out of the way. It's a heavy old brute, but I like to take the gate off when I'm opening the pit because it's kind of in my way. You have to open it to come in, then it's across the front of the pit, and then you have to close it when you come in, and you get me. So let's take it off. Let's go in here. around the little corner, you might see one of me meal bins turned upside down. The lid of it's thrown over here. It's like that a while now sitting. I have to fix it. I had a little bit of a mishap and I split my bin in two. Now luckily I had another one and I put that in its place, but it's totally fixable. It's not a split right through, but the meal was coming out of it, so I couldn't use it for meal. So what I'm going to do with it is, I'm going to put it here where the other one was, throw a lid on it and use it for holding all of our plastic covers that come off our pit. Just throw them into it, keeps them dry, and then wherever we go to do the recycling, it's there, nice and dry. Just pull them out, throw them in the trailer and away you go. It'll still get use. We're now all set up. It's time to start stripping this off. One thing I do really need to do soon, the next time I have this tractor lovely and warm, I need to calibrate it, because anyone that has Dana 6 or Dana 4, after a while they become very, very jumpy, and she's got very, very jumpy this last while, especially in forward, just standing on top of your head, and then other times she'll barely move. So just a calibration, take about 10 minutes to do once the tractor's nice and hot. But anyway, apart from that, it's very cold, hence the reason I have the hood on me all the time. We've got to keep moving to keep our blood warm, so let's tear into it. That is that done. You do get weeds that grow out of them, and what I tend to do is turn the weeds next year when they've been put on, turn the weeds face down, and that'll kill them. It makes no difference. It's just maybe if you don't like the look of some of the weeds growing, they do grow quite high, you can do that, just turn them over. The other thing I was doing there was I was cutting the cable ties that's hanging these. So on the net you have these guys here, and then you have the cable ties that tie the bag to them and lets it hang down the back. Great job, very, very handy. But just one thing you have to make sure of is when you're cutting them, you only cut the cable tie and not the cover, and then also make sure you gather all the cable ties, because you don't want that going into an animal's stomach and they would eat them. I'm gonna go and get rid of this load here, and then we're gonna come back down and we're gonna start pulling these covers up, and let's uncover what we've got. I can tell you one thing, once you have 10 bags in the front, you can feel the weight in front of the tractor. That's why I put the weight on the back to counteract that, take the pressure of the front axle. So just like that, there is it uncovered. And I don't want to say it's the best pit I've ever uncovered, but it has to be right up there, because I think it's even better when we done this. Remember the first time we done this with the green covers and all? If you go back and watch that video, I think it's better than them, because all we have is that little tiny piece right there. Look, along the wall here, there's nothing. It's a lovely colour. It smells lovely. You can see where the bags lay kind of slightly out from the wall. You can see the way there's a bit of mould, just because the bags weren't just fully in against the wall, but you can see it's in a bit, but there's the end of it there. So you're starting to come out of it now. So a wee bit of mould just along there, but again, nothing. It's a happy and an emotional moment, because I know when I uncover the pit, there's always someone here with me standing, usually watching me do it. because I know it meant an awful lot to them when they were doing this job, and I know it still mean a lot to them. So we have 2 robins over there in the corner sitting watching the whole time while we're doing it, so you can take what you want from that. So that is the final verdict on all this rooting with the silage pit. And I said we only kind of done this because we're doing YouTube and stuff, and just to kind of give people an idea. And my verdict at the very end is quite simple. I think the clean seal is a really good job. I think it definitely helps with the fermentation of your silage by sealing in and keeping an airtight barrier between your silage and your cover. When it comes to putting covers across the walls and stuff, well, that's different. This year it seems to have worked really well for us. The first year we did it, we had a little bit of rot. But in general, for the amount of time it takes to put them across the bars and stuff, if you have the help, brilliant. But if you don't have the help and you're doing it by yourself, it doesn't make a huge difference. You will have waste, probably have more waste, and we have always had that up there, but it's only been a few grab loads. And on the top, as you go back, we always found that it's just across the face of it. And the more we went up the pit, there nearly was none along the sides. And so you have to kind of put it down to yourself. Is it worth the hassle of putting it across? So you want to get a lovely pit of silage that you can take pictures of and send to people, then fine, put the covers across it. For me, I will still, when I have the help, if they're here, we'll throw them across. If they're not, I'll not lose sleep over it. I just looking there when we were taking it off, I made a wee mistake when I was describing it earlier on. So we didn't have 2 new covers on it. We actually had that much of an overlap of the 2 covers, good covers that we put over the walls. We only put 1 new cover on it, and I only realised that and remembered that when we were stripping it off. I want to mention about the bags. Now they are handy. I was hoping there might have been one still left here. There's not. They're gone. But they are handy. People like covering the pit now versus the big tyres, or the car tyres full of water and dirt and everything hitting you in the face, and then you're fighting and falling out and in the house and not speaking for a week. And I will continue to replace and reuse the bags all the time, no question about it. The only thing I will say is the lifespan of them, I think someone wrote that they're near 10 years. Maybe if you had them inside or had your pit covered and the sun couldn't get at it, you might get longer. But I've seen bags that are in 4 or 5 years now and they're starting to just split open. So they're ready for replacement. There's nothing you can do to fix them. So you can weigh up the cost of replacing them. I reckon I'll replace about 20 of them each year, just to keep the kind of thing replenished and right. And that's all I can tell you. I can't really say much about it. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask me. I'll give you my straight up answer. And that's all I can say about that. So, a safe way to sharpen a shear grab, the way I do it, is I turn the shear grab facing downwards, put the prongs on the ground, so the whole weight is resting on the ground. It can't move anywhere. And I just go in from the inside now, nice and safe, and I can sharpen all the blades. Some of you might remember when I bought this shear grab. Is this his 2nd year or 3rd year? I nearly can't remember, but it's one or the other. But you might remember that it was binding up. I was talking about it binding up on both sides when it was closing. More so, I think, was this side. That's not too bad, but it was binding up, digging a little bit of a trench there. But it seems to have solved itself. People thought maybe there was little twists in it, and that's what was causing it. But I don't know. It seems to be all right now. It did bind in just slightly when we're starting to first using. There is a wee lip there, a place that's dug in, but after it was used a few times that seemed to come out of it. So that's it all set up there now, and everything's greased. One thing I will be doing off camera is I put the loader on the ground, flat on the ground, the shear grab. I push down, take a little bit of weight off the bottom of the axles, and that's a great time to grease your front axle. By letting a lot of the weight go on the loader and lifting the front end up slightly, it allows the grease to get round the whole way. That's all the reason we do that. I was told that by a viewer right back in the beginning of the channel when I was greasing the axle, and I've done it ever since. Alright, so it wouldn't be winter time. We're having a root at this thing. It's a brilliant tool for scraping slats and for pushing back silage, especially when you're working with pit silage. No good when you're using bales because the stuff's that bit longer and it won't push it back. Half a block silage or whatever bits and pieces are left over for the cows, or if you're cleaning out in front of them, it's extremely handy for that. The unfortunate thing is I've had this one for at least 14 years now. It cost me about €1,500 when I bought it, but that was only the start of the costs. It has been shocking troublesome. All engine problems. This unit here is powered by Honda, and the one that's in at the minute is a GCVX 170. The one that was in it before was basically identical, same engine, a slightly different model than what was on it, but the same every other way. The same throttle system, the same air filter system. It looked, apart from the top cover, it looked generally exactly the same. The petrol keeps mixing with the oil. It was in the dealership several times, and every bill came back over €300, 300, 400, €500. The timing, it's not a chain, it's a timing belt, had rung. The last engine had to be rebuilt nearly twice. And it all comes down to the petrol mixing with the oil. So after about 2 weeks, your oil turns a lovely milky colour. And this happens from new. So as you can see here, the oil is actually quite clean now. And it's only clean because I put fresh oil in it before I left it sitting up. I run it for a while with fresh oil in it. But I do know after using this for about 2 weeks, I will have to dump that oil and have to put fresh oil in it all the time, just to keep it running. I had to do that with the last one as well. And no matter many times in the dealership, they had no answer for it. They couldn't cure the problem, and I couldn't cure the problem no matter what I tried. And I've worked on a lot of small engines. We put this engine in 2 years ago. That engine run okay for about 3, 4, 5 weeks. The break-in period had passed. I had to change the oil. And when I changed the oil, it was milky. And that was highly frustrating, with a lovely scent of petrol of it. And the one thing I do notice straight off the bat is this throttle is broken off. So let's sort that. I don't know why that broke. It just seemed to shear off. It's a little bit too long, so I'm going to put a nut on the end of it. It's just not threaded the whole way through. That's all that's wrong. So save me having to do a run today just to get a bolt. But this in it will do the job just equally as well. One thing I do is put a little bit of white lithium grease. Kind of protects it, sticks to it and protects it, lubricates it all at the one time. Nothing. Not as much. It's a bit fouled. It's definitely getting petrol. Just clean the point of contact on top of the plug. Take a little blowtorch, just warm up the plug. Alright, so that's where a wee bit of heat comes in. It does help. Just clean the plug and heat it up. I also put a little bit of heat into the actual cylinder of the engine to warm it up slightly as well, and it does help to get the yoke running. Even when it's running there, it's very sputtery. Can you hear that? And I noticed I was doing that last year, and I don't think that's fuel related. I think that's the start of something more sinister. But I will run it for a while. I'll take the carburetor off, clean it anyway. It may be slightly gone out of timing as well. normally should turn the bale up on its end, then take the wrap off on the next, wind it off and then divide it out. So I have to bury that act of stupidity and just get it over with. There's a good chance when you feed them as well. I go in now, I'm going to clean down their slats and cubicles and all that kind of stuff, and it gives me a great chance to walk behind them and have a look along the line without them moving, just to check for mistakes, things like that. Alright, now I'm on phone cam. It's a couple of days later and I'm out here with the front loader and just actually cleaning the front of the silage pit. That's all I'm at. Taking away any bits of silage that's laying because it's giving a bit of rain tonight. And if rain gets on that silage that sits on the ground, it'll leave it unedible, so we don't want to waste anything. So I'm just after putting a couple of scoops just there in front of the cows. So the good news is the silage the cows wolfed it into them. It is quite dry, I've noticed, and I've talked to a couple of neighbours who've also said, who cut around the same time, that they've noticed their silage is very dry. When we get into it a wee bit more, we test it then. So we're nearly surprised today that it wasn't due for a while. Yeah, everything fine. Just a lot earlier than it was supposed to be. So we got a kickstart, an early kickstart. But we still have a breather before that madness starts. It won't be long till it starts. It'll be starting fairly soon, but today we got a taste of it. The crack with the silage in today's video, the way I'll put it to you at the end, my opinion on everything is do what works for you. If it works for you, do it. But also, always keep a little bit of ambition to try something new. Sometimes these things will work in your favour and you learn something new, other times complete waste of time. What works for you mightn't work for the farmer down the road. There is no rule of thumb on these things. You learn as you go along, and that's what we're all doing. Anyway guys, have a good Christmas. I'm going to continue on getting these cairns all sorted out, get finished for the night. See you in the next one.